Hey everyone, what is going on? This video, I'm installing a GlowShift digital electronic oil pressure sensor. I'm going to have a whole nother video that comes out before this one that is me making a gauge pod and cleaning up the car, because the old Autometer one was mechanical. The line was leaking a little bit and it was in there for a few years. My wiring abilities and understanding of car wiring has improved in those years, so I got some things to fix. I'm going to make a gauge pod on like that on the new center console, clean some things up, and go from there. So let me show you what you get with the GlowShift. So you got the digital gauge. It is color changing. You got your sending unit, which is nice. It comes with your little bag of brackets and screws, which I'm not going to use. You'll see that near the end of the video, because mine's just going to kind of slip in there and make it tight when it goes in. And it also comes with a wiring harness, which I think I left in the car, and some instructions, which, I mean, it's super easy to install. So you got a red key on wire for 12 volt, an orange headlight that I believe is optional. It makes it dim. You got a yellow constant. That's probably for the memory, so it knows what color you left it on. And then you got a black vehicle ground. And then green goes down to the post on here, marked green. And then there's one over here. And you just go to a chassis ground. Now that's got to be a good ground, or else, because this reads resistance, if you don't have a good ground, you'll have a higher reading than what you should. And I think that even says that on here. But this is a 1/8 27 NPT fitting. So I think that's what's on the car, and I already checked. There is room, because mine is offset, so there's room to twist it on there. So I'm gonna have to get some pipe dope or pipe thread for this so it doesn't leak, and we'll get started. Very important first step is taking the sticker that they gave me and adding it to the storage boxes / tool cupboards. Alright, so I'm going to start wiring this, the gauge. Basically, first you want to find somewhere to mount it. If you watched my last video, it is now in a vent. I mean, some people, you can do an A-pillar, you can do one of these guys on the column, you have tons of options to mount it however you want. And with that being said, your wire is only 2 foot long. So you're probably going to need extra wire. I should be okay for most of these, because I already have the nitrous gauge in there beside it. So there's already some wires in there. I will definitely need a wire to go to the front of the car that goes to the sending unit. I'll have to make a ground wire. And I'll probably have to extend some other wires just so that they're long enough. I only have these 2 colors, but that should be good enough for what I need. So now that I have it mounted, I'm going to have to start wiring this. I also have some Teflon tape for the sending unit. I don't know if I'm going to use this. I think I'm going to go get some pipe dope, because I think that'll be better. Some actual like thread lock, thread sealer instead of the tape. I kind of prefer like the dope better. To find some of the wires, because I got to find a 12 volt key, a good ground, stuff like that, and a constant 12 volt. You're going to need a multimeter of some sort. I'm going to have to test a couple wires on the old harness just to make sure that they're the same before I wire them together. And I also got a bunch of these little guys. I like these crimps better than the ones that go through, because I think they make better contact. So we got the tripod set up in here, and we'll get to some wiring here tonight. So I got the dash all back in. Everything's all buttoned up. I still have to pull the wire, which is hanging down here right now, to the sending unit, which I'm going to do next. But I'm going to show you what the gauges look like. So as you can see right now, it's just kind of doing its own thing right now. Right now, to get a reading, I just kind of have it attached to a ground. So that's pretty much it. So you can go and change the colors and go through. So it matches pretty well with the other one. This one is a little bit older. It doesn't have the color change feature. It's just blue. But they're both digital. They both match. And when they're both set to blue, they match pretty well. So this one also, you can set it to randomly change colors apparently. There we go. So when they're a blue, they match, and the dash is all nice. I got my GoPro button, no more gauges or holes up here, that's all taken care of. So the whole thing is pretty cleaned up. So now let me turn off the car. So I got to take off the bumper so I can jack up my car. Got some pipe dope to put a little bit on the threads, and got our sending unit. So basically, I'm going to get this guy in. If I remember, this is the correct thread size. I won't need an adapter, and I prefer the dope over the tape just because I think it works better. So I will pull the bumper off and jack the car up, and I'll get back to you guys then. So, car's all jacked up. This is the copper tube that ran to the old gauge. You can see it hanging right there. And let's see if we can get the focus. Won't really focus, but it's right up here. I'll have to get in here, pop this off, and get the new one in there. So that should be pretty simple. So obviously I'm gonna have a little trouble filming that, but old one's out, new sending unit. As you can see, this is the tape, the yellow like Teflon tape I used in the other one. So I took off one terminal because it's gonna be hard to read. This is where the wire from the gauge goes. And so I'm gonna put some dope on here real quick. Don't want to get anything on the front to mess up any of the sensing. So now I got to put it back in there. So new sending units in. I can't really get the focus too well, but I ran the car. No oil leak. So now got to pull wire up over to the sending unit, and then put a wire to ground. All right, so got the wire coming from the gauge after I ran it all through the dash, and it's fed through a pre-existing hole I got in the firewall, and comes off. As you can see, there's like a nitrous line and stuff down here, power wire and that. I'm going to run it along here, tuck it down, run it along the fan wiring harness, and then the gauge is right here. Probably going to somehow tie it to the back of the motor so it's away from the header. And then I'm going to do a ground wire, which is going to run along that as well, right to this chassis ground here. So just got more wiring to do. You know, pull this wire out, and got some wire ends and stuff. So I could put a nice terminal on there, crank it down. should be good to go. Then I can test it. The only problem that I have is I only have white zip ties, so it's gonna kind of suck, but whatever. You can always switch them later or not. It'll probably just get dirty over time. So on to some wiring. All right, so as you can see, the two wires over here by the dipstick, I got them tied to the wiring that the fans use, so it's away from the header. Got it all the way up, tucked up here. Here's where I put my ground with some of the other engine grounds, and the other one goes inside. So we know that solenoid didn't leak when we tested it before we did the engine bay wiring. So now let's get inside. So it should read 0. Means we have a good ground. And start the car here. '64, '63. So definitely reading. Like I said, I kind of like it because the blue matches, but you know, you can always go through and change it up. Yeah, we're reading. Let's go check the engine bay. Can't see any oil in there, so we've got some old oil burning off from the leaky valve cover. So I think I'm good to put the bumper back on. So that's pretty much it. You got to clean up some stuff on the interior. There's tools and wire bits everywhere. And change the oil, give it a wash and wax. And hopefully I'll be ready for an event on May 22nd. I'm going to have to take the car out, obviously, to make sure there are no more leaks on the valve cover. I tightened it down. Like I said in past videos, if it's still leaking, I bought some Honda Bond, and I'm going to do Honda Bond, new gasket, and make sure the valve cover's flat. So yeah, so now I simplified the dash and everything, and that's all working. Have less possibilities for leaks. No chance of oil getting in the cabin. That's a good thing. So I hope you guys liked the video. Like and subscribe. Until next time.